before. Order. I'd like to say first good morning to everyone. And we had our workshop at 9 a.m. and it's now 10 a.m. and we're going to have our regular meeting, which will consist of a regular meeting of the town board and also our police commission meeting at this. It will be part of this as well. And so I'd like to start off by asking our clerk, Christian Sampson, to call the roll, please.
Councilman Friedman? Here. Councilman Logan?
Here.
Councilman Withers? Here. Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Deputy Police Commissioner, Public Affairs, Francis Hunter?
Here.
Supervisor St. Lawrence?
Here. I'd like to ask Deputy Supervisor Withers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda will be the town attorney and Michael Klein, our town attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The first resolution is one approving a building inspection services agreement with the Village of Chestnut Ridge.
Moved by?
Withers?
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next resolution involves the Sutton Quarry. As the board recalls, the town obtained title to the quarry, and we've had issues for actually going on a number of years now regarding the appropriate way that the quarry will be remediated by Tilcon, which is required to do under the Land Reclamation Act. This has involved various meetings with the DEC, and it also resulted in a lawsuit that is now pending between the town and Tilcon, where Tilcon sued the town, and we crossed claims against Tilcon, and that's now pending in the Supreme Court. This resolution resolves all outstanding issues satisfactory to my office, to our Special Environmental Council, to the DEC, and to Tilcon. So this resolution, number one, authorizes an access agreement by which Tilcon may enter upon the quarry site to do the required remediation work under a revised remediation plan that's approved by the DEC. This also settles any claims between Tilcon and the town as a consequence of our acquiring the quarry and our efforts to require an appropriate remediation plan through today.
Okay. Moved by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Friedman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
We have an existing agreement with the Rockland County Sewer District Number 1 by which the town agreed to dispose and transport of certain soils. This resolution extends the timeframes under that agreement.
Moved by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Friedman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
We've received a request from the Yeshiva of Spring Valley to purchase a surplus vehicle. The board may remember that our purchasing director prepared a list of various vehicles that are to be disposed of under our disposition policies. So this will authorize the Yeshiva of Spring Valley to purchase one of our surplus vehicles.
Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next is a resolution approving the reimbursement for drainage, sidewalk, and paving work.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next resolution involves signage on Cottage Lane. The board has been concerned about this issue. We've been contacted by various residents along Cottage Lane, some asking for certain signage, some asking for signage to be removed. This has been reviewed by both the police department and our traffic consultants. We are at the point now where Frederick B. Clark Associates, our traffic engineers, have recommended that the resolutions that were adopted previously be revised to permit parking on one side of Cottage Lane, but to continue prohibition of parking along the cul-de-sac.
And that side will be determined by the police in their work with Frederick P. Clark.
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The town board has received a request by Viola Gardens LLC in Temple Bethel, which wishes to sell a piece of its property for development. to change the zone on that piece of property to MR8, and also for coordinated amendments of the comprehensive plan. This matter has been referred to the planning board for its advice and recommendation. In the meantime, John Lang has reviewed the EAF Part 1 of the SEQA that's been submitted and has prepared for your adoption an EAF Part 2. This is an interim step. This will be subject to a full hearing before the board in the future. And John Lang is also recommending that we ask the applicant to submit a full traffic study as well as some visuals so the board can see exactly what's proposed and how it will impact the surrounding properties.
Okay.
This resolution approves the EAF Part 2.
Moved by Councilman Friedman, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
And finally, we have resolutions to approve the O&M agreement that the town board has been considering for quite a while.
Moved by Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. On personnel, we have our Director of Personnel here, Linda Condon. Linda?
Our first item, item 2A, is the appointment of a Sandy Howells as Permanent Information Services Assistant 1 in our computer department. Sandy got 100 on her test.
All right. And she lives in Hillsborough.
Lives in Dover.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We didn't vote on you yet, Sandy.
That's great.
Yeah, you might have to come back up, Sandy. We didn't vote on you yet.
She gets to do it because of the 100.
That's right.
But you know, I think she's lucky, she didn't have to come especially at night.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we vote?
No.
Okay. Now let's see if we want to really.
We already got a guess, we don't even vote.
Okay, a move by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. And Sandy, you're doing a great job, and congratulations on getting 100 on the test. How long have you worked with us, Sandy? 2 years. 2 years. It's amazing. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Okay.
Our second item in personnel is a resolution to appoint Henry Andano, the grounds worker in a vacant position in the golf department in Parks and Rec.
Moved by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. I do want to say, before we vote, that Henry has worked with us since he was 17 years old, and a man that's forging his own way in life, a Haitian American, and we are so proud of him. He's worked for us. How long have you worked for us, Henry? 5 years he's been working for us in seasonal, and we're going to have him now as a full-time employee, and he's been invaluable to the Parks Department and comes highly recommended by Michelle Antosca, our Director of Parks and Recreation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
They don't allow them to give up one of his 3 jobs.
Congratulations. We'll go to the finance. We have an amendment to the 2013 budget, receipt of donation for DARE program. This is from the Sneedham Place Development Corp. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. We had 2 new items of new business. 5A is to accept the low bidder for the lighting that needs to be done as part of the Storm Sandy and other related events. And the lowest bidder was Tryon Electric. Moved by Ullman, Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Item, yes, 5.
There are a few items back up.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, right.
Oh, right, I'll go back up to them
So
in a
let me
second.
just,
So that was 5A.
I just lost you. We're at 5A, Holman Withers. Thank
Yes,
you very much.
you're welcome. And I'll do 5B since I'm down at this point. 5B is all Sean to repair the roof at Manny Welder that was damaged from Hurricane Sandy. That's for $6,505. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Item 1B, Michael?
Yes, the town board previously approved a resolution accepting the proposal for Bowman Company for insurance coverage for property and equipment. This is a technical correction to that amendment, to that resolution.
Moved by Councilman Friedman, second by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
And then finally, 1C, the town is going litigation on a tax share matter with congregation of Hell Neiman. This resolution settles that tax cert case for years 2010 through 2013 with a partial exemption.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. We now have a public hearing. This is a public hearing on the proposed amendment of the noise law for the town of Ramapo. And what this will do, it will match up both Saturday and Sunday equally on the noise ordinance. Right now, they have separate noise ordinances, and this will make it congruent. Both Saturday and Sunday will have the same noise ordinance. Council, do we have the proper publications? Anything you want to put in the record?
Yes, all the prerequisites for the hearing have been received, and the notice of public hearing reads as follows. Notice is hereby given by the town board of the town of Ramapo that pursuant to the provisions of the town law of the state of New York, a public hearing will be held at 10 o'clock a.m. in the Ramapo Town Hall, 237 Route 59, Suffolk, New York, on the 21st day of March 2013 to consider the adoption of a local law entitled A Local Law Amending Local Law Number 7-1982, Noise as amended to permit construction on Sundays, with local law shall provide as follows, with the text of the local law having been filed in the town clerk's office.
Okay. Anyone in the public want to speak on the noise ordinance? Motion to close the public hearing by Councilman Ullman, second by Councilwoman Logan. Motion on the main motion to move by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Councilman Friedman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. That we will now move to item 3, which is police matters, and I'll pass it over. Before I pass it over to our police chief, Peter Brower, I do want to welcome Deputy Commissioner for Police, Fran Hunter, the Deputy Commissioner on Public Affairs is here. And
You'll get it right.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, Fred. And so at this point, we'll pass it over to you, Chief Brower.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good morning. The first item on the agenda is the youth court. I have Detective Sergeant Clovis going to give us a little presentation. But before he does, I certainly want to compliment you, compliment Deputy Commissioner for Police Affairs. She was on the board when your vision started at youth court. And I want to compliment the rest of the board members. They continue with the funding and the resources. It's been an exemplary program, and I have Sergeant Colbert over here, who's going to give us a little 2-minute to 5-minute presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. As we're aware, youth court started in 2009 in the town of Ramapo.
Would you mind if you would just give your report from next to the Deputy Commissioner?
Of course.
Just in that way, people at home won't see your back, and they get to see your beautiful smiling face. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
We began youth court in 2009. Basically, what youth court is, it's a diversionary program. What that means, it's a second chance. Anybody in New York State under the age of 16 who's arrested is considered a juvenile. Normally, regardless of the charge, the case goes to Rockland County Family Court, where they become part of the system. Youth court is a second chance where they can avoid the system. When the juvenile offender and his parent agree to it, the case goes to youth court. What is the process? When they agree to go to youth court, they have to abide by the terms of youth court. They have to first admit their guilt. They have to admit that what they did was wrong. They then go to youth court where their sentence is agreed upon by their peers. A high school student serves as judge. A high school student serves as their lawyer, as a prosecuting lawyer, as a bailiff, and as a clerk. They will meet with their attorney. Their attorney will try to get them the lesser sentence possible, mitigating circumstances.
When you say meet with their attorney, you mean the youth
The
attorney?
youth court attorney, again, these are all high school students representing each other, representing themselves. The prosecutor will represent the people, and will try to get the appropriate term, the appropriate sentencing. The sentencing is anything from community service in 8-hour increments to letters of apology to essays as to what they did was wrong. So far, we've done 136 hours of community service, which is mostly cleaning up the town parks, picking up debris, picking up trash along town properties and so forth. It's been working out well, and it's been showing that there is consequences to your actions. Membership in the youth court, we have revolving membership. By membership, I mean the members who act as judge, act as stewards, and so forth. Some of our members have been with us since this school year. We've had some who have been with us from the beginning and graduated last year. Students are from all 3 public schools in the town of Rampo, Spring Valley High School, Rampo High School, Suffolk High School, as well as 1 student from a private school. So far, we've had 15 cases. So far this day, we had 15 cases referred to youth court. We anticipate many more. There's a serious consideration afoot with the age of adulthood in New York State is going to be raised to 18. So when that passes, anybody 16 and 17 will be eligible for youth court as well, and family court. So again, we anticipate very high increase in the number of cases. What are the benefits of youth court? Youth court benefits both the people who appear before youth court as well as the members of it. As I said before, the people who appear before it, they get a second chance. They're grateful for it, and more noticeably, their parents are grateful for it. Afterwards, they come up to us and thank us for the opportunity to give their kids another shot at it. And also the members of the youth court. These kids started with us very, very shy, awkward kids. They're very, as we all know, when most of us went to college, the toughest course was public speaking. These kids are petrified when they first start out. But as the youth court evolves, we watch these kids mature, they become professional speakers. It gives them confidence, it gives them skills. Stuff that even if they don't necessarily go into the legal profession, they're going to bring with them to college, into their own future. I attached to the handouts, and he allowed me to share it with you, an essay written by Matt Feynman. Matt Feynman started with us in the end of the 9th grade and stayed with us until last year when he graduated from Walker High School. He had to do an essay, and the theme of the essay was community. And he based his essay on how community relates to youth court. And he was very proud when he came and showed me the technical exam the essay. He said he won an award, won the first prize in the contest. And when I read the essay, it made me happy that I was able to help give him the opportunity to really achieve his potential and kind of show that he did get something out of youth court. So if you have your leisure to look the essay over, it's somewhat heartwarming. That's youth court in a nutshell. If there are any other questions.
Would it be something that we could film? Not one of the actual cases, but could we have a mock case at some point? Because we don't want to film anything with somebody who's actually done something wrong and embarrassing.
That's a very good idea, and I would like something like that, because I know the kids, unlike Youth Academy, where it's like 12 weeks and then there's a formal graduation, the kids are with us, again, many of them for 3 years, their whole high school career with us. And it would be nice if they had some sort of recognition, so something like that.
I think we should set up someone that be a typical case, and we can have somebody from the youth court play the defendant, and we'll make it clear that this is a mock trial showing how the whole process works, and maybe film it all the way along, even if it's some things prior to coming in.
I think they and their parents would love it. I think the kids would enjoy that very much.
Let's work on that. Jack will be available, and we'll set it up.
That'd
Are you thinking about something perhaps on your Thursday night show, Mr. Supervisor?
Yeah, we could do it live, something on the show, and then we could roll right into the tape.
Sure.
All right.
Can I maybe just suggest something? You mentioned that you have over 130 hours of community service.
Yes.
If you find in your findings that a student's going to have to be doing in the future some community service, would you reach out to the town board and let us know that you have so many students that we participate? Because we do get calls from constituents that have areas that might need some litter patrol pickup or something like that. So if we could work hand in hand with you, because just recently I got a call about Pascack.
Yeah.
Pascack Road.
Down by Ewing there.
Yeah, so if we could maybe work out something there, with just, because we could work together and say we're on it, and I think it's a great way to show that the youth that have been punished by their peers are now out picking up the community.
We can do that, certainly.
And Reverend Brightman is now as one of our chaplains who wants to do more, be more involved. I know I spoke with you, Chief, the other day, and he came to speak to me, and he wants to be available to us, and he wants us to feel, to call him and have him come over. And I know it would be something that he would like to be involved in the youth court, and he'd like to be involved in anything, and if there's any counseling that may need to go on, or things of that nature. But in the actual youth court itself, where they're coming down to community service, he could be a person that could be part of that community service as well, as a reverend, and he has a great connection with kids. So I think we should incorporate him into the program as well. Great job. I think it's exciting. I think we need to let more people know what we're doing on that.
Okay, thanks
Great.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for anybody else? Yes.
I attended the youth court last night and actually saw them participating in a case with the judge, the bailiff, the defendant, and the prosecutor. And in one case, the parents were allowed to come in with their son, and he has to sign a paper and everything. It's very professionally done. The children are all very serious in their jobs, and it rotates. So I had a long talk with Detective Corbett last night as to why maybe the town board wasn't aware of what was going on in there, and that maybe we should get a little more involved from the town board stand.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Thank you. All right, Chief?
Thank you. And while you mentioned Reverend Brightman, as you suggested, he did come see me, and he's going to come back Tuesday around 11 o'clock, and myself and my staff will have a meeting with him, and we'll certainly learn about his potential, and I think he's going to be an asset for the town, but more importantly, I guess, from my perspective, an asset for the police department.
Absolutely. And, even with the Youth Academy, we could maybe even have, I know we're in the middle of a class now, it may be an appropriate time for him just to come in and say hello to the kids, because his story is a great story, growing up in South Carolina and what he lived through in the racial strife in the South at that time, and then 20 years in the United States Air Force, and then as a reverend. So he has a nice story to tell to kids.
He's a good guy.
And he's a real good guy. Yeah. Thanks, Chief, for letting me know.
Thank you. The second item is, I wanted the board to be aware of a letter that I sent to Police Commissioner of New York City, Commissioner Kelly, and it involved a comment made by a defense attorney in the Journal News about one of my police officers being a liar, and I took exception to that, and I don't want to offend anybody in the room, specifically the attorneys, but we've been around the block for a while, and when these defense attorneys look at their case and they look at judge the merits and they find that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to convict their client, then they attack the police.
Yes.
We're used to that, but I don't like them calling my police officers liars in the press. They can conduct their presentation in court. I don't need to be in the paper. And I had to bite my tongue for a couple of months until there was an adjudication on the case. And this case incidentally garnered a lot of public press, public attention. It was 4 young men that sexually abused 1 or 2 young ladies, young girls. They were all found guilty. The other thing I took exception to is when this attorney, the defense attorney, who happened to be a retired member of New York City PD, he was a lieutenant retired, evidently he went into law, and he talked about, there was a phrase down in New York City, as far as I'm concerned, he was not telling the truth, he was trying to justify how he handled the case. He did what we called in this city, test the line. So I want to try to make the police commissioner aware of one of his former police officers performing an act that way, and I encouraged him, as a former member of New York City and as a member of the bar, if he's aware of any police officers that testified on the oath and lied, that he has an obligation to report that. And I don't think he's made any names available. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that, and I haven't received a reply from the commissioner, but I just want to put him, the last sentence to me says a lot. I bring this matter to your attention as I feel the comment made by Mr. Nat brings discredit to the dedicated men and women in the New York City Police Department and serve to demean the law enforcement enforcement profession. And that's above your department's always been positive, your personnel always been conduct themselves as true professionals in every sense of the word.
Go ahead.
ask you one thing?
Commissioner Withers.
Can you read that louder? Because I want to make sure that what we're doing is we're not attacking the police department of New York City, because I was a former member of the New York City Police Department, I've never heard that term, I've had over 400 felony arrests. And that says it all there, that we want to work well, but and if a defense attorney is going to try to do and slander this department, but I want to make sure that there's 30,000 men and women down there that know that we are trying to honor their integrity and their professionalism. And if you could read that again louder for the camera.
Okay, the third paragraph. Throughout my 40-year law enforcement career, I never heard that term. I do not believe that law enforcement officers would use that terminology and willfully give false testimony under oath or suborn perjury. My dealings with the New York City Police Department have always been positive, and your personnel has always conducted themselves as true professionals in every sense of the word. I bring this matter to your attention as you feel the comment made by Mr. Knapp brings discredit to dedicated men and women of the New York City Police Department and only serves to demean the law enforcement profession.
Is there any action that we should take as a town to file anything? Have you been talked about with the?
Unfortunately, lawyers have a lot of latitude. Sometimes they get depressed and they try to
Embellish or
but also try to garner public sympathy and discredit law enforcement. And as I said, we have thick skin. We're supposed to have thick skin, but when we use the words like liar, test the line, and if he's saying this is engaged in what is known in New York City Police Department as test the line, I have not met anybody that ever heard that terminology. And I think it's demeaning to the law enforcement personnel here and more importantly in New York City. And I feel he has an obligation that if he knows of a case where someone lied under oath, he should bring it to the...
as an officer of the court, he should be doing it.
That's my
I wanted to ask Anita. Anita, what do you think of this? I mean, you worked the years in the DA's office, and then
DA's office, you're very careful about what you say. Obviously, if you don't win a case, you never blame it on anybody. It's always about the merits of the case, So I've never been a defense attorney. I don't want to be a defense attorney.
have you ever met a defense attorney you liked?
Married to a defense attorney.
Oh, okay, one. Well, you still haven't answered the question.
But there are some defense attorneys who do. But for the most part, though, I would say that you rarely ever hear anybody, a defense attorney in this county calling a police officer a liar, to the press. And they have to work with these police officers. And I've never seen that.
I think it's just insulting to the detective. The detective lieutenant is here, to his men and women. His men and women that actually handled that case. It was a very difficult case. It was a very, like the chief said, it was a very media frenzy case. It was a very sensitive case where the police weren't allowed. Look, some of the times being a police officer, even being public officials on the town board, we're not allowed to. We're compelled not to speak, and that is the frustration sometimes. And I truly Chief, I want to commend the detective lieutenant and your detectives for the professionalism they held during that whole case. They were restrained from firing back and trying to defend their honors, and their integrity was questioned. And I applaud you, Chief, for defending them and sending that letter off, but also handling it that there are many men and women that shouldn't be labeled under this ambulance chasing lawyer is what I'll label him. So very good job to you and your men and women.
And I would say this, on the underlying case, our officers did an incredible job.
They did.
And it's just sad that someone goes to this level.
We appreciate that the rights of the accused should be upheld, but I don't appreciate them calling my officers liar.
Yep.
I really don't. And if he knows that this is a common practice here or he has an obligation to bring it forward. Absolutely. As simple as that. And the press is not a place where he should present.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
We definitely see from this case.
Yes.
We definitely see from this case, then with the public scrutiny in the media, tried to win it by the media, not by law. And we saw how Judge Eichenpress found that the cop was saying the truth, and it wasn't the media case.
You know, Councilman, Commissioner Allman, you bring up a good point, and I'd like to also maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I also believe that it was a very, she handled herself in a professional manner, and it was one of her first big cases as an elected judge, and she didn't get caught up in the media and the press and all that stuff, and she stuck to the letter of the law, and she did a good job on that as well.
Thank you. She made a decision based on the merits of the case as opposed to any articles in any paper. Any other questions on that? What I'd like to add to the police commission now is I have some matters that may indicate litigation. I have some internal investigations that I would like to discuss in executive session unless there's some other issues that we can discuss currently.
Before we do, you want to,
Anybody?
I'm with the executive session.
Okay. Go to executive session by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, we're going into executive session, and we will return and invite everyone back when we're out of executive session. We're back out of executive session on a motion by Withers and seconded by Logan. We've come out of executive session. Friedman and Withers.
Yeah, we didn't put it on.
You got plugged in. Did you plug it in?
Hold on.
Maureen, it was a motion by Friedman, second by Withers, to come out of executive session. It was unanimous. So we're out of executive session now. Thank you, Chief, for that. Did you have anything else on your agenda? Or?
I think that concludes my
Okay.
business for this meeting, Mr. Supervisor. I want to thank the board, though, for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay. And anybody in the public want to speak? Robert and Scott? You have 3 minutes, and
It's Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue in Muncie. The town, I've seen in the past, has got some grant money for sidewalks, which they're going to use on sidewalks. I know something's going to be done on Old Nyack Turnpike and the area of Saddle River Road. There's another sidewalk, I think, in Ramapo that we need to do something with. There's an old blacktop sidewalk on the west side of Muncie Boulevard that runs from Walter Drive to Fletcher Road, and that's in need in disrepair. We feel that could be repaired. And also, there's no section of sidewalk along Muncie Boulevard on the west side between Fletcher Road and Melnick Drive. The other thing I was saying, we talked about the youth court here during the police commission. Another area that could be cleaned up is the area in Muncie. I see there's a lot of trash along the intersection of Maple and Muncie Boulevard and along Muncie Boulevard. The other thing I have is what is being done with the old Muncie Cemetery. I've been by there a couple times, and I see that the fence is falling apart in a couple of places, and that needs to be repaired. And the final thing I'd like to say is that it's the end of the month, the holidays are coming up, and I want to wish all the residents of the town of Ramapo a happy holiday, whatever faith you are and whatever holiday you celebrate, a happy holidays coming up the end of the month. Thank you.
thank you. We have one other speaker, but just the community development block grant money we put in for, we haven't received yet on the grant. The place you spoke on Melnick is actually in the village of Spring Valley. And in our West Maple Avenue and Maple Avenue project, we revamped the entire cemetery and working with the Muncie Lions on that. And the Muncie Lions went in and put in a little gazebo, and when they did that, they knocked down one of the railings, and we're going to fix that in the spring. And the Muncie cleanup and our spring cleanup has begun. It was waylaid a little bit by the storm, but we're out there picking up tremendous amounts of debris on the street, and also tonnage in there as well. Scott, did you want to address this? Okay.
Scott Goldman, 6 Cottage Lane, Suffolk, New York. First, I'd like to applaud the youth court for their accomplishments and what they've done. And Chief, I commend you for sending that letter to the police in New York City about the attorney that's lying. No attorney should ever lie. I understand their job. I've been working in the courts for years. I understand their job in trial. I don't understand why they did what they did. It was just wrong. And I want to commend you for doing that. Now, getting back to, I understand we've made some progress, Mr. St. Lawrence and Board, on parking on Cottage Lane. In the interim, I had pulled up a road inventory for the town of Ramapo. Unincorporated town of Ramapo has 412 roads. Out of those 412 roads, there are 2 no parking anytime in the town. That's half of 1%. Of the roads, less than half of 1% of the roads. One is my street. The other one is down around Suzanne. There's a total of 4 roads with no parking, but 2 of them are also no parking during school hours, which is on West Fessler and a little side street off of West Fessler. There's no school there. I understood it when they first built it, and Ramapo was real busy. I know why they did it, because the kids used to park there and then walk over to the school. There's no schools there anymore. You know, Ramapo has enough parking that those signs are obsolete. But once again, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Again, I'd like to reiterate that I would like the parking to be turned back to the way that it was. Otherwise, all of our streets, Mr. St. Lawrence, are undersized. Our roads in the town of Ramapo average from 24 feet to 30 feet. And if that's the case, you're setting a precedent for no parking on every street within the town of Ramapo that's unincorporated. Just by what you did here. It's just wrong. And I appreciate what you're doing. Don't get me wrong. And I want to thank the board for making the effort, but I'm going to continue this to the best that I can to either A, you revert it back to the way it was, or what I had suggested at the last workshop. If that one neighbor is so dead set against it, put the no parking signs from property line to property line in front of that neighbor's house, and no one will park there. There's very rarely anybody ever parked on the street, and I've explained to you why we were parked on the street, waiting for my driveway to get redone. No ands, ifs, or buts. The cars aren't there. The cars are all inside. Most of that driveway's been done. Another piece of it has to be done this year, and the rest of the cars are going in the back. It's not going to happen. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Motion.
Oh, one last thing. Yes, I'd also like to wish everybody a happy, healthy, and good holiday.
Thank you very much, Scott. Motion to adjourn by closed public participation by Councilman Friedman, second by Councilwoman Logan. On motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you.